If you're a veteran and you've never bought a property, it's 5 years before you to make the decision or get to the point where you're actually ready to buy.
I don't think a lot of people are aware of this. They're stuck because of that down payment factor. I'd love to dive into the VA programs that we've been talking about, and especially how beneficial they can be for investors, because I help a lot of investors, and I've never really even knew that existed, and it's a great option for anybody that's served in the military or still is. I'd love
I
if you
agree.
tell me a little bit more about it, and what, just dive in.
Absolutely. So the VA home loan, like, it's for the eligible veterans and active duty service members and even some spouses. So if you're a spouse and you endured the unfortunate event where your service member, whether they were a veteran or active duty, passed away as a result of a VA service connected disability, you would be eligible for that VA home loan benefit. So anybody who's eligible for the VA home loan benefit has the opportunity to purchase a multi-unit property. And that's the secret here. So that's kind of the loophole, is in order to purchase an investment property, it cannot be a single family residence because that's only classified as one unit.
Right.
But if you purchase a duplex or a quadplex, as long as there's multi-units, and the VA will allow you to use the VA home loan benefit for up to 4 units, as long as you occupy one of those units, you can rent out the other 3 units in that case of a quadplex. And even if all 4 of those units are already being rented out, you could still use the VA loan to purchase that quadplex, as long as you have the rental agreements and the underwriters are good with whenever the termination of that existing lease would actually, I guess, whenever it would come to end. Right now, I think is probably one of the best times in the history of the real estate industry in America to leverage this benefit, just because interest rates are so high. You just think about the affordable housing dilemma that we're in because of the interest rates, and you couple that with how much real estate values have appreciated over the last few years. This is a perfect way to buy an investment property, even if you're a first-time buyer, with no money down, no private mortgage insurance, no prepayment penalty, and you have other renters already, if they're occupying the other units, offsetting your mortgage payment. So you don't have to worry about that full burden of a full expensive mortgage payment right now, as long as you keep those units occupied.
Wow. That's just amazing to me, because I've always known of VA loans for buying your own home, and I've always thought it was amazing, but just never knew how you could apply it for investment properties. So it's incredible. And so you had also mentioned this could work, and you can have 2 properties, which I only thought you could have one VA loan at a time. So tell me a little bit about that.
So the VA loan it's a lifetime benefit, which means the eligible veteran or active duty service member can use the VA loan as many times as they need or want. I think I've used my VA loan 11 times over the last 20 plus years. You could technically have 2 different homes at the same time with a VA loan on each home. So what the VA does and how the VA works is, the VA, it's a government-backed loan, and they're going to guarantee 25% of that loan to the lender. That's what makes it possible for the veteran to not have to make a down payment. So if for whatever reason they default and the home forecloses, the VA is going to pay that 25% to the lender. It offsets that risk to the lender. So it's based on entitlement, a VA entitlement, and based on the purchase price of the home, a certain amount of entitlement is going to be calculated that's equivalent to 25% of the purchase of the home. But service members' total entitlement amount is $181,000, $181,500. And there's an equation that goes into it. So if you buy a house and you have entitlement remaining after you buy that house, it might be possible for you to use that remaining entitlement to buy a second home, again, as long as you intend to occupy that second home, that would be available. So that's the way that you'd be able to occupy a second home with a VA loan. So now you've got 2 properties. You didn't have to make a down payment for either one of them. And with a VA loan, there's never private mortgage insurance associated with it.
It's amazing. Now, what about, I'm going to ask you an odd question here. What if somebody's buying, let's say, a quadplex, but it is going to need a little bit of rehab to kind of get it to where they need to be? How does that play out with a VA loan?
That's an excellent question because a quadplex probably isn't cheap these days.
Hmm.
Before I get into that, the other thing I like to clarify, because it's a common question that I get, is can I use the renter's income to qualify to buy it? Unfortunately, the answer is no. The veteran would have to qualify for the purchase of the entire property. It's just a side benefit of the rental income to help offset that mortgage payment.
Right. Okay. So I was wondering, let's say you're purchasing a duplex, triplex, quadplex, and perhaps you're getting it for a great deal, but you do believe it would be much better value. You could increase rents if you did a little bit of rehab to it. How does that play out in terms of using a VA loan?
That's an awesome question, and it's really good for the veteran and their real estate agent to know far in advance before they get into the negotiation process of purchasing a property that might require repairs. Because with a VA loan, it's a VA appraisal. And the VA appraisers are certified to be VA appraisers. And what they're looking for, in addition to whatever the typical comparable analysis, market analysis that an appraiser does, is they're looking for what's called VA minimum property requirements. In general, they're looking to make sure that the property is overall safe, sound, and secure. So there's no exposed studs, there's no exposed subflooring or electrical. The roof isn't more than, I believe it's 12 or 15 years old. Basically, that it's in good shape. As long as it passes the VA minimum property requirements, then they would be good to go. Another question I get is, let's say you do get a really good deal on the property, and say you agree to purchase it for $400,000, but it appraises for $480,000. The VA would not allow that difference in cash back at closing. You can't get cash back in equity at closing. However, you're starting off not only without making a down payment, but now you've immediately got $80,000 in equity. And one way to leverage that $80,000 after you get into it is to exercise a home equity line of credit option on that property. And then there's your cash to be able to do the rehab if that's something that you want to do.
Yeah, no, that's a great strategy. Absolutely. Now, in terms of a VA loan, in your experience, I know you've been doing these for a long time. What's the process look like? How long does that typically take to close one?
So the quickest I've ever closed a VA loan, I believe, was 18 days.
Wow.
But it could go out. I mean, it just depends on, is the seller and the buyer, are they going to come to an agreement? How long is it taking all the third parties to get the various pieces that we need done? So if the appraiser does an inspection and there's repairs that need to be made, how long is that going to take? On average, it's about 30 days. Not out of the ordinary to close a lot of VA loans in 25 to 30 days.
That's great. That's fast. Okay. That's good to know. And what about, obviously, I know your income has to qualify. What about credit score?
Most lenders would like to see at least a 620 credit score. So this is, I mean, the list just goes on with the additional benefits that you get with a VA loan when purchasing an investment property. Because if you're trying to purchase an investment property, not only are you going to have to make a 20% down payment, most likely, but you're also, the lender is going to tell you they're going to want to see a higher credit score. It might be 700. It might be 740. The other thing is with government-backed loans, the interest rates, historically speaking, are going to be a little bit better than the standard conventional, especially if it's an investment loan for an investment property or investment mortgage.
So speaking of interest rates, what are you typically seeing on interest rates for purchasing? Let's say I'm purchasing a duplex.
Right now, I would say the national average is looking to be around 7.5%.
Okay.
And it's going to be significantly higher. A lot of lenders will just look at whatever the prime rate is +1 on investment properties right now. Prime, I think today is 8.5. So you're looking at potentially 9% to 9.5% if you're getting a traditional investment mortgage for an investment property that you're not going to occupy. You got the 20% down payment, and they're going to want 700 or 740 credit scores.
Yep, absolutely. So it's very true. So that's a huge, huge benefit, being able to do that. Tell me a little bit about you. How long have you been, I mean, I know you do different types of loans, but I can tell that you specialize and your heart is in VA loans and helping veterans. So tell me a little bit, how long have you been doing them and what kind of brought you into really going after VA loans in particular?
So I used the VA loan for the first time when I was a 21-year-old corporal in the Marine Corps. I was still active duty. And to this day, I don't know how I was able to qualify to buy that home. I didn't have to make a down payment. I have had no idea what my credit score was. I just knew I wanted that house. It was a brand new construction home on 3 acres in Jacksonville,
Wow.
North Carolina. And my interest rate was 6.5%. And I thought I was getting a seal of a deal because I remember my
Hmm.
parents talking about 18%, 21%
Right.
on a mortgage. And that was the very first time that I learned a little bit about the benefit of the VA loan. So since then, I've bought and sold multiple properties with real estate agents and without real estate agents doing for sale by owner. And then in 2012, early 2012 is when I got on to the mortgage side of the industry and specifically did VA loans. I would say from 2012 to 2022, 99% of the mortgages that I was originating, my clientele, they were veterans or active duty
Hmm.
service members. And I took a little over 10,000 applications. And since 2012, I want to say I've funded over $510 million, most of that being in VA home loans.
Hmm.
The reason is because being in central Missouri, there aren't any military bases nearby. It's a way for me to give back. I've learned so much about the VA benefits, almost all of the benefits, the mortgage, the VA service connected disability, the post 9/11 GI Bill, the apprenticeship program, the list goes on. So it's a
Hmm.
way for me to just give back and help veterans and educate them. So if you're a veteran and you've never bought a property, and it seems super intimidating, even if you want to talk and it takes 5 years before you to make the decision or get to the point where you're actually ready to buy, I'm happy to build a relationship with you as a veteran and over the next 5 years and hopefully be there to help you when you decide to actually purchase a property. And if not, at the very least, you know what you're getting yourself into so you can enjoy the process, take advantage of that zero down benefit.
That's amazing. It's wonderful what you do. Absolutely. And I'm so excited to get this out a little bit more because I don't think a lot of people are aware of this. And so many people want to get into real estate investing, but they're stuck because of that down payment factor. I help many real estate investors and that is just always the big dilemma is that down payment or credit score because yes, in my world of private lenders we can go down to a 640, but credit score plays a giant part in rate and leverage. So somebody with a
Mm-hmm.
640, they might have to come up with 40% down because of their credit
Yeah,
score, whereas somebody with a 750, totally different story. So to be able
right.
to get in at a 620 and not necessarily be punished for your credit score, that's amazing. That's a huge game changer, and it really opens the doors up for a lot of people that have just been on the sidelines because they've been limited by their situation.
I would say for anyone who's eligible to use the VA loan, and this is something that they're really seriously considering, don't limit yourself. Don't just think about what kind of investment property can I get into and
Hmm.
just benefit from the zero down and the renters of the other units offsetting a lot of my mortgage payment. Build a strategy for it. You can do
Hmm.
this over and over and over again. So the way I explain it is you say you buy a duplex and you occupy one unit, live in it for 12 months. And during that 12 months while you're occupying it, make those payments, the full payment at least, and then the rental income that you're getting from the other unit, make sure you're applying that to the principal balance as well. And if you have second tier entitlement remaining after a year, move out of that duplex, buy another duplex, occupy one of the two units in that duplex, begin renting out that unit that you were in. So at that point, you should more than certainly have that mortgage payment for that first duplex completely covered by the rental income for those two units. And now you're in your second property and you're just starting all over again. Hopefully, by the time you move out of that second property to buy a third duplex or a quadplex, you'll have enough equity in that first duplex to where you can refinance it into a
Hmm.
conventional loan, which is going to free up your VA entitlement to buy a third duplex. And you keep doing that over and over again. Before you know it, 10 to 15 years, you could have 7 to 10 rental properties and you're going to have cash flow. It's a fantastic way. It's a super easy option to get into because again, you don't have the 20 to 40% down
Hmm.
payment and lenders requiring high credit scores as a result. It's just going to take time and trying to figure out, do you want to manage those properties or do you want to pay a property management company to do it? Either way, it's going to take a lot less cash out of your pocket to be able to get into the investment property world.
Amazing. I love it.
Love
I
it.
just love it. It's awesome. Can you think of anything else we missed? I wanted to just kind of cover the basics and just how amazing this is. Is there anything I should have asked and didn't?
Anybody is more than welcome to contact me for details. Everybody's scenario is different. TerryRoberts.com will take you to my bank website. All my contact information is on there. And the very first thing I'm going to do after I understand what your situation is I'm going to make sure that you are eligible to use the VA loan. And that means we have to contact the VA. Usually I need 2 pieces of information. I log on to the VA portal, which is an option that VA reputable lenders have. And within about 60 seconds, I can get your certificate of eligibility. If I have the certificate of eligibility, then I know that you're eligible. And then we work on pre-approval. And once we have you pre-approved for the amount that you're satisfied with, last thing I wanted to mention is a program called Homes for Heroes that I'm affiliated with. So if I have you pre-approved and then I get you set up with a Homes for Heroes affiliate real estate agent, you're going to get a no strings attached cash, or it's a check back at closing that usually equates to about 0.7% of the purchase price. So if you buy a $400,000 property, an investment property in this scenario with 0 down, no PMI, all those benefits, and having a renter offsetting your mortgage payment, or at least most of it, 0.7% of 400,000, I think, is either $2,300 or $2,800 cash back that you're going to get at closing just by working with the Homes for Heroes affiliate. And you can learn more about that at terryforheroes.com. It's an outstanding program. I support it 100%. It is legitimate. And coupling your VA loan to get an investment property with Homes for Heroes, there's no origination fee on VA loans, at least not with Bell Bank. So the benefits just keep stacking up with an approach like that. I highly recommend it and would be more than happy to talk to anybody and just get their questions answered on it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I'm going to put all your information on here. I'm excited to get the word about this out and help a lot of people because I really believe in what you're doing and I think it's amazing.
Thank you. And whatever I can do to point more clientele your way, anytime, please let me know.
Well, thank you, Terry. I really appreciate it.